It started with a look. Not a word, not a scream, just that cold, dismissive smirk from Trina Braxton that said everything without saying a thing. And in that moment, you could almost feel Tamar Braxton's heart stop. For years, she had swallowed the whispers, the mockery, the quiet judgment behind every sisterly smile. But tonight, under the bright lights and rolling cameras, something inside her snapped. The tension that had been building for seasons finally came roaring to the surface. And the world saw Tamar Braxton at her breaking point. It wasn't supposed to go this far. The conversation started small, about an address, a letter, and a simple question that turned into an interrogation. Tamar wanted to know one thing: who gave that man her address? Her home, her son's safety, her peace. That house isn't even under my name, she said, her voice trembling but sharp. Somebody walked up to my building with my name. That wasn't paranoia. That was fear, real fear. But instead of empathy, Trina Braxton laughed. She rolled her eyes, shrugged it off, and joked, "Wait. Someone walked up to your door. If you were watching closely, you could see Tamar's eyes darken. That wasn't confusion, it was fury disguised as control. Because how many times can you cry out before your own blood starts mocking you?" Trina wasn't just dismissing a question, she was dismissing Tamar's reality. And when Tamar Braxton feels unheard, history has shown the explosion isn't far behind. Now, to be clear, no one's defending violence. But let's tell the truth, you can't keep poking the bear and then play victim when it bites. For years, Tamar Braxton has been the emotional punching bag of her own family. Every outburst turned into a headline, every tear branded as drama. And while everyone was busy calling her unstable, no one asked why she was always the one standing alone. Tonight, that loneliness erupted into chaos. "Don't put your hands on me," Tamar warned. Her tone wasn't just defensive, it was final. You could hear it, the quake of a woman who'd had enough. Trina claimed she didn't touch her. But in Tamar's eyes, the damage was already done. Years of laughter behind her back, of whispers during confessionals, of being treated like the family's problem child. All of it came crashing down at once. It wasn't just a fight. It was the moment Tamar Braxton realized her family didn't protect her, they provoked her. That smirk from Trina, the silence from Tony Braxton, the indifference from Tawanda Braxton, it all merged into one unspoken betrayal. Tamar had begged for boundaries, for privacy, for respect, and instead they gave her humiliation. Broadcast for the world to see. You could see Trina's face in that moment, smiling, almost entertained, and that's when it happened, a blur. A rush, the sound of chaos breaking loose, the camera shook, the crew froze, and suddenly, Tamar Braxton was no longer talking, she was reacting. The wig almost came off, a kick followed, and silence swallowed the room. Was it right? No. But was it human? Absolutely. Because underneath the lights, behind the glamour, this wasn't just a TV moment, it was years of exhaustion exploding into one shocking second. Tamar Braxton wasn't just angry at Trina. She was angry at every time her truth was dismissed, every time her pain was turned into punchlines. And that night, she stopped swallowing it. "See my name," Trina had said smugly. "That's not up to me to disclose an address," but to Tamar, it wasn't about paperwork, it was about betrayal. She'd gone through every possible method to protect her and her son's safety. She'd hidden her name from property records, built walls around her private life, and still her family found a way to hand out the keys to her peace. That's why this moment hit differently. This wasn't Tamar being Tamar. This was a woman who'd been pushed into a corner one too many times. A woman tired of being laughed at while trying to protect her child. And when she saw Trina Braxton smirk, the same smirk that said, "We don't take you seriously," her patience finally cracked. And yet, what's wild is how the audience split. Some blamed Tamar, saying she overreacted, calling it another meltdown. Others, though, saw something deeper, a woman reacting to years of subtle cruelty, of being talked over, dismissed, ganged up on by the very people who should have stood beside her. In the end, this wasn't just a sister fight, it was a mirror. A mirror of what happens when family wounds go untreated, when pain becomes performance, and when silence turns into a weapon. Because sometimes the loudest scream comes from the quietest betrayal. And for Tamar Braxton, that betrayal came with a smirk, a shrug, and a sisters were hanging by a thread. The aftermath was chaos, quiet, eerie chaos. The kind that doesn't fade after the camera stopped rolling. Tamar Braxton had stormed off, leaving a room full of shocked faces, and in that silence, you could feel years of buried resentment floating through the air like smoke. No one moved at first, not Trina Braxton, not Tony Braxton, not even Tawanda Braxton. Everyone just sat there stunned, realizing that this wasn't about a wig or a push. It was about the ears. That led to a dot when Tamar finally spoke again. Her voice wasn't the loud, sassy one we come to expect. It was cracked, trembling, heavy with everything she had tried not to say. "I'm not crazy," she muttered under her breath. "I just wanted respect." That sentence lingered in the air longer than the fight itself. It was the confession of a woman who's been misunderstood her whole life, and whether you loved Tamar Braxton or not in that moment, you couldn't help but feel her pain. Meanwhile, Trina Braxton tried to gather herself, pretending she wasn't rattled, straightening her wig as if nothing had happened. But that mask slipped fast. Behind that calm facade, her eyes told another story: shock, guilt, and maybe even fear. Because deep down, Trina knew she'd pushed too far. Her sarcasm, her smirk, her little digs, they weren't just jokes anymore. They were triggers. And Tamar Braxton, the sister they'd spent years labeling dramatic, finally proved just how far a person can be pushed before they break. Then came the confessionals. Trina looked into the camera and said she was just trying to de-escalate the situation. That she didn't touch Tamar, that she only stepped between her and Tony Braxton. But the footage told another story. The eye rolls, the smirks, the underhanded comments, all of it painted a different picture. This wasn't de-escalation. This was provocation dressed as peacekeeping. And then there was Tony Braxton, the supposed peacemaker, the classy one, the quiet storm. She sat still, her expression unreadable. But to fans watching, her silence was louder than any scream. Why didn't she step in? Why didn't she stop it before it exploded? Was she protecting her image or protecting her peace? Either way, the message to Tamar was the same: you're on your own. That's when the internet took over. Clips went viral. Hashtags started trending: hashtag TAMA or snaps, hashtag Braxton chaos, hashtag Wigate. Everyone had an opinion. Some said Tamar Braxton needed therapy. Others said she needed protection. But one truth cut through the noise: this was no random outburst. This was emotional exhaustion on full display. And it didn't end when the camera stopped. Behind the scenes, whispers began to surface of producers cutting certain footage, of family PR statements being drafted before dawn. Some insiders claimed Tamar wanted to quit the show altogether. Others said VH1 begged her to stay, calling the moment TV gold. But to Tamar Braxton, there was nothing golden about it. It was humiliation, pain, and proof that even her lowest moments would be used as entertainment. What makes this moment so haunting isn't just the fight, it's what it revealed. You can see it in the way Tamar Braxton's voice shook when she said she didn't feel safe, in how her sisters laughed instead of listening. It wasn't about one argument. It was about a lifetime of being the scapegoat, the extra one, the one who always got blamed when the family wanted to hide its cracks. In that single episode, all the old wounds ripped open: to Wanda Braxton's alleged money scandal, Tony Braxton's favoritism, Trina's sarcasm. Every secret they tried to bury came crawling back to the surface. Because that's the thing about truth, it doesn't stay hidden forever. And no matter how polished the Braxtons tried to appear, reality had a way of clawing through the glitter. Tamar Braxton didn't just lose her temper. She lost her patience with pretending that everything was fine, that she wasn't hurt, that her family didn't sometimes treat her like a punchline. That night, she chose to stop swallowing it, and in doing so, she forced the world to see what's really been happening behind the Braxton smiles: envy, exhaustion, and emotional warfare. When the dust finally settled, and the show's credits rolled, fans couldn't stop replaying the moment: the wig grab, the scream, the silence after. But the real story wasn't the fight. It was what came next. A sisterhood fractured, trust destroyed, and a woman who finally stopped begging to be believed. Because if you look past the drama, the shouting, the wig snatch heard around the world, you'll see something raw. You'll see a woman who was tired of being dismissed. A woman who'd had enough of watching her pain turned into plotlines. And as Tamar Braxton walked away that night, one thing was clear: she wasn't just walking away from her sister. She was walking away from the silence that had kept her small. That's the real story. Not the fight, not the gossip, not the edit. The truth. Tamar Braxton finally reclaimed her power, even if she had to lose her temper to do it.